The loss to the Steelers wasn't just another stumble in the Ravens season. This time, something was different. Lamar Jackson stopped holding back, stopped masking it, and he was brutally honest. The reaction on the sideline, the gestures, the words, everything showed that the patience is truly gone. And when a leader of that magnitude explodes, you can be sure the message hits hard. What happened in that moment goes far beyond one bad play. There's built-up pressure, bottled-up frustration, and a clear line being crossed. And once you understand what's behind that explosion, the way you look at this season from this point forward completely changes. The interception against the Steelers was just a trigger for something that had already been building inside the game. As soon as he came off the field, Lamar walked to the sideline with a locked-in stare, firm steps, and a level of anger that he rarely shows in public. Then he ripped off his helmet and slammed it to the ground with force, a gesture that instantly grabbed everyone's attention. There was nothing theatrical or exaggerated about that moment. It was raw, heavy, and loaded with meaning. While the defense was already lining up to go back on the field, Lamar kept pacing back and forth, yelling, gesturing, making it clear that this reaction went far beyond one poorly executed play. His entire body was communicating accumulated tension. Historically, Lamar has always kept a more controlled posture, even in tough losses or messy games. He rarely exposes that level of emotion in front of the cameras. That's exactly why that moment carried even more weight. It wasn't just a quick burst of frustration. It was the kind of reaction that comes when a feeling of limit has finally been crossed. And the most important part is that the explosion didn't stop with the helmet hitting the ground. Right after that, the frustration moved from body language into something even more direct, verbal, and personal right there on the sideline. Right after the helmet hit the ground, the tension didn't cool off at all. Lamar turned straight toward Daniel Falele and started a confrontation that was clearly noticed by everyone around. It wasn't a random comment or event thrown into the air. It was a direct conversation with exchanged gestures, hard expressions, and firm posture, making it obvious that the level of anger had gone beyond any normal in-game limit. The confirmation came quickly through the broadcast. Reporter Tracy Wolfson said Lamar was arguing about the protection, while Falele responded by saying the Steelers knew exactly what plays were coming. In other words, the conversation didn't stay purely emotional. It crossed into the technical side, defensive reads, offensive predictability, and execution issues that kept showing up throughout the game. That kind of public confrontation is extremely rare for Lamar. He's always been known for dealing with problems in a much more reserved way, usually protecting the group even in the worst moments. The fact that he exposed that frustration right there, in the middle of the game, in front of the cameras and the entire bench, shows that this had been building for weeks. And when that kind of exchange happens without filters in the heat of a heavy loss, it becomes clear that the issue wasn't tied to one isolated play. That confrontation was a direct reflection of something that had been dragging on all season, and had already passed the point of tolerance. Lamar's sideline explosion takes on another level of meaning when you look at how many times he's already been taken down this season. With 29 sacks so far, the quarterback has been playing under constant pressure, often without even a minimum time for routes to fully develop. That kind of environment completely changes how an offense operates, and even how a quarterback processes every snap. With the pocket collapsing early, Lamar is forced to speed up his reads, anticipate throws, and improvise far more than planned. That raises the risk of mistakes, forces more aggressive decisions, and creates a chain reaction that disrupts the entire offensive rhythm. This isn't just a statistical issue. It's a deep shift in how the quarterback behaves on the field. So when he openly confronts the offensive line, that reaction isn't about one bad play against the Steelers. It reflects weeks of getting hit, pressured, exposed, and forced to play in far from ideal conditions. The honesty shows up exactly because there's no way left to hide what's happening inside the pocket. And the more that pressure keeps repeating, the harder it becomes to separate physical wear from mental wear, something that's starting to show more clearly in Lamar's behavior during decisive moments.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Even after dealing with a difficult stretch because of leg issues, Lamar's been showing clear physical improvement over the past few weeks. His mobility is more present, his movements look smoother, and his escapes in the pocket have started to return more naturally in certain situations. The problem is that this physical improvement hasn't been matched by a sense of security inside the pocket. On every snap, the threat of rapid protection breakdown is still there. That forces Lamar to play in a constant state of alert, already prepared to escape even before completing his progressions. That difference between feeling better physically and still feeling vulnerable structurally creates a contradiction that's hard to manage. His body allows for more, but the structure in front of him doesn't keep up, and that turns even simple plays into tense, rushed, and far riskier situations. That's exactly where frustration becomes even heavier, because even when the player feels capable of executing better, the environment around him simply doesn't allow that to happen with consistency. Lamar's reaction goes far beyond a single disagreement with one lineman. It works as a direct message to the entire offense, the coaching staff, and the whole locker room. Once that kind of frustration becomes public, it stops being internal and starts carrying a completely different weight. The phrase "patience is over" translates perfectly what was implied in that sequence of gestures, words, and posture. There's no more room to tolerate the same mistakes, the same protection failures, and the same breakdowns in key moments. The message was crystal clear, even without those exact words being spoken. That kind of posture changes the temperature of any group. It creates pressure, discomfort, accountability, and exposure. But it can also become an emotional turning point. That moment when there's no longer space to push problems forward hoping they'll fix themselves. After that sideline scene, the Ravens season enters a different level of tension, because when the leader of the offense exposes that level of frustration, it becomes clear the limit has been reached, and everything that comes next now carries a completely different weight. Lamar Jackson's explosion against the Steelers wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment outburst. It was a reflection of an entire season loaded with pressure, repeated protection failures, and an offense that never managed to offer real security to its quarterback. The way he reacted on the sideline, with no filters and no attempt to hide frustration, showed that the limit had been crossed and that patience had finally run out. When the leader reaches that point, it means the problem is no longer isolated. It's deeply rooted. Now, the only question left is how this team will respond to such a clear message. Will the players react and protect Lamar better in the coming weeks? Or was that the definitive sign that the season has entered dangerous territory? Whatever the next step is, one thing is already certain. After that moment, nothing inside this offense will ever feel the same again.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.